Hello guys, and welcome again to another episode. In today's video, I'll be talking to you about one of the most favorite exercise for everyone to train. It's the arms. How to get big arms, and I'll try to break it in a scientific way to tell you why we do what we do. And if you stay till the end of the video, I will be telling you exactly how to put all these exercises together, and then we'll go from there. So stay tuned. So I did make a little list in here. My handwriting is very messy, so I'm not going to show you what it says. But basically, we'd start talking about the bicep. And basically, whenever you want to train the bicep, you need to know the three muscles, or the biceps stand for two actual muscles in the arm up there, which are the long head and the short head. But then also you have the brachioradialis, which is a third muscle which goes into the forearm, but also acts and help in flexing the elbow. So knowing that, it will tell you what you kind of need to do to optimize your training for them. And knowing the insertion, so where the actual muscle originates, you will be able to bias one head more than the other if you need to. But if you follow the training program that I have at the end of the video, you'll be able to pretty much nail all the different heads of the bicep and the tricep in one go. So the first one is the long head. It inserts from over in the glenohumeral head, so basically in the shoulder joint, and goes all the way down into the arm, into your forearm. So the job of it is two jobs. It will help you with extension and flexion at the shoulder, and also movement of the arm. So knowing that, whenever you're trying to bias that head, you just want to put it on stretch on two angles. So basically trying to keep your arm moved back. So anything like an incline bicep curl will be pretty good to start with. A short head of the bicep, basically you can do any curl movement and that will be okay. But then the third head of the bicep, which is the brachioradialis, you need something more of a hammer curl. And then if you could combine those three movements into your workout, you will be getting the absolute best result of that training session. At the same time, if you hit the three heads back to back, you might be getting a bit fatigued. And by the third one, you might not be able to push as hard as you possibly could if you were fresh. So that's why usually we try to blend in some tricep, because every time you're using your bicep, your tricep is sort of resting. But then if you superset bicep exercise with a tricep exercise, then you'll be able to get the benefit of both, that having that extra break for the bicep, but also getting that swell and the blood flowing into the triceps as well. On a tricep, tri stands for three. So also you've got three heads. You've got your long head, your short head, and the medial head. Again, some people say changing your hand positioning will help in biasing some of it. I believe it's movement of the joint, because knowing that the long head crosses over two joints, if you move your arm into the overhead position, similar to a skull crusher or an overhead tricep extension with a cable, it will give you a better contraction in that sort of long head. But then if you want to focus on the short head, a normal press down seems to be optimal for me. Bodyweight exercises I like, such as the dips and sort of close grip push-ups, because they work on that medial head, the middle head of the tricep. And obviously you can't really sort of specify one muscle fiber when you're training in that training. So the way I put it all together, every time I would start with my training, especially if I'm doing just arms, I will start with a compound lift. I'll start with a heavy compound, usually something like a barbell bicep curl. And again, I don't go heavy straight away. So I try to work up with the weight, because obviously if you start with the heavy weight, your risk of injury will be higher. You want to make sure that all the sort of stability muscles in your forearm and wrist are also engaged to prevent any injuries and like reduce your risk of injury. Making sure your shoulders stay still throughout the movement. So you're not trying to swing from the shoulders, you're trying to keep your shoulders still, pin them back and down, and then just moving from the arm. Using a narrow grip or wide grip also will change which head of the bicep you bias, but a normal grip is fine for the most part. Usually as soon as I finish my compound movement for the bicep, I'll jump straight into a cable tricep press down, in which I'll push straight down and back up. And if you see in the video that I'll have linked on this side here, you'll see how I sort of push my hips back, allowing my shoulders to come a bit forward into shoulder flexion. And that will allow the head of the tricep to actually extend over the two joints, which is my shoulder joint and my elbow when I press down, biasing that long head slightly more than just a neutral sort of standing position. And I'll do 3 sets of each exercise, and I'll usually finish my biceps first and then go to the tricep, finish the triceps after, and then move on to the next exercise. The next exercise that I would go for is a bicep hammer curl. Again, working on that bicep, but also you're trying to work on the brachioradialis, which is that muscle that crosses into the forearm. From their standing position or seated position, I find it to be a lot harder in a seated position and when you do both arms at the same time, because what that does is prevent you from swaying from side to side. And although it's very minimal movement, it actually helps quite a lot. I do tend to go with a very heavy weight, and that's why I'll do the standing single arm weight. But if you want to challenge yourself, I would do it seated, back supported, keep your back, and then from there going up and back down without letting your elbows move back and forth. And then I have another cue about it, which is basically to try to engage that arm. If you want to focus a bit more on the forearm, what you need to do as you lift up, try to move your thumb up. We call this radial deviation, just that motion. So as you lift up, trying to lift your thumb up as well. You'll feel your forearm so much more than if you keep your hand down like this. The wrist
So
up in that
give that a shot.
Now, once we finish that, we're going to go for another tricep exercise. This exercise is very similar to a skull crusher. Well, indeed, it is a skull crusher, but it's a single arm with a dumbbell exercise. I've learned this one at uni when we were assessing the tricep activity. So if we want to assess someone's tricep, we get them in that position, and then from there, just going up and back down, we'll be able to sort of assess if their muscle firstly is working properly, and then you could also determine if they have any compensating strategy, so lat activation or chest activation. So if you push the arm really high up and then from there going straight up and back, you'll really focus on that tricep. And you could try that and it really focuses on that long head of the tricep, but also it will prevent you from using the other sort of muscles in your arm. And that's why I like this exercise better than the barbell. And then if you want to make it harder, all you would do is, instead of having a neutral grip, go into a supinated grip, and from there try to go up and back. And that will make such a big difference. So try that and let me know what you think. Now, the next exercise that we do after we've done the biceps and the triceps usually are 2 finishes. With the first one, it's a bicep finisher, and I'll go for the chin-ups. So I would go for normal 10 chin-ups. My focus is to tuck the elbows in as close as I can and keep my hands close to me, so facing me, and that will really work the bicep. 10 to 12 repetition or until fatigue, and then by the last one, you're just gonna hold it there for as long as you possibly can. As soon as you can't hold it anymore, you drop back down and do 3 sets of those, rest for a bit in between obviously, and then move to the last exercise. The last exercise that I would do is a body weight dip hold. So imagine you're trying to do a bench dip where your hands are resting on a bench, and from there push your chest up, hips up, and hold for as long as you can. Usually if you can get for a minute and repeat that 3 times, that will be really impressive. But by the end of that workout, your arms should be fried. So there you have it, guys. You've got the way I would program a training for the arms, especially if you want to do a full arm session. The way it works is we're trying to alternate between your bicep and triceps, and make sure that throughout your pre-workout and your workout, you drink all the supplements that you need. Speaking of which, that's so nice. I'm drinking my EAA, and I made a full video about it yesterday. So if you want to check that out as well, let me know what you think about that as well. Well, until next episode, I'll see you then.